everybody, my name is Greg Bennet, and I am a conversation design principal at Salesforce. I founded our first official conversation design practice this May, which I'm extremely excited about, but I've been moonlighting as a conversation designer for Salesforce for the last couple of years. Previously, my role was in user experience research. So for those of you who have met me before, you've known me as a user experience researcher, but I've worked on conversation design at Salesforce in my research capacity since essentially since I started working on our Einstein Bots product. In terms of my work and what I cover now, I would say that I cover any kind of experience that has conversation at the core, whether that is Einstein Bots and our Chatbot builder on that platform, or even call coaching, where we're trying to understand how salespeople talk when they're talking to their clients. I conceived of sort of the concept of this talk through insights I gathered via research that I've done myself, as well as achieved in collaboration with Salesforce's customers, and certainly through my days as an academic linguist. Before we begin, it wouldn't be a Salesforce talk if I didn't share our forward-looking statements. Salesforce is a publicly traded company, so please make your purchasing decisions based on the product as it exists on the market today. Anything that I show or discuss today may never see release. So one other interesting part about me is that I'm an absolute nerd. And like any good nerd, I have a favorite cartoon. That cartoon is Dragon Ball Z. It's a fighting cartoon. It's hugely popular in Japan. Came out in, I think, the 80s, so I'm dating myself here, and perhaps you've heard of it. I grew up watching this show religiously in my grandma's living room every day after school. It was a huge part of my childhood. As an adult nerd, I've taken to collecting items and tokens that celebrate and show off my fandom. So even right here in front of my desk, I have a little Dragon Ball Z figure. You can see it here. But even when I use my phone, I like to collect, sort of digital memorabilia that can convey my fandom. I was using a chat app where I discovered that they had these wonderfully ornate stickers that would take over the whole screen in the chat. And when I found out that they had Dragon Ball Z specific stickers, well, I lost my mind. I had to figure out how to get these stickers. And once I realized that I could ask the chatbot that is native to the app where I could find it, I figured, okay, let's fire up a session and see how this goes. So I start a chat with the chatbot and I say, where are the Dragon Ball sticker packs? And it responds, hey friend, have you seen this week's new sticker packs? We're super excited to share them with you. Okay, so that's not exactly what I was looking for. So I repeat myself, maybe I wasn't clear enough the first time. I want the Dragon Ball sticker packs. And the bot responds with the same thing. Hey friend, have you checked out this week's new sticker packs? Not exactly what I was looking for. I was pretty frustrated at this point. I wanted to hurl my phone out the window. So I just respond with frustrated, ugh. And it responds with, hey friend, have you checked out this week's new sticker packs? Okay, so something about this bot isn't quite right. And essentially what I ended up doing was I gave up and just asked a friend, hey, where can I find the stickers, and went about my day. But as a conversation designer, this really sort of, it really sparked my mind's interest. It was really the bot's artificial nature that killed my trust in the system. What happened was I ended up going to a friend, right? And so I didn't use the technology at my fingertips to really get the solution that I wanted. So yeah, the conversation itself is a huge aspect of how users develop trust with the system. I'm less motivated overall to use the company's bot. I'm slightly, sort of wary of the company's brand now that this experience has sort of been delivered to me, and I'm concerned that I'm not getting the attention that I need. In fact, research has shown that the artificial and robotic nature of bot chat is one of the leading factors that impacts the extent to which customers trust a company's bot. We know that bots aren't going away. In fact, especially after the lockdown, as a result of COVID-19, chatbot adoption has been through the roof. At Salesforce, we've seen our messaging channels grow 600% and above over the last 6 months, and our Einstein Bots platform in particular has grown 176%. Chatbots are not going away. In the same study that I was just referencing, 60% of the same participants also found bots robotic and artificial in their responses. Now, as a researcher by training, I have to, concede that causation and correlation are not the same thing. These two, findings happen in the same data set, but I think it is worth considering, okay, something about the bots' robotic and artificiality of their responses impacts the extent to which a customer is willing to, engage with the bot overall. It erodes essentially the user's trust in the company's tools to deliver service. And so this ends up becoming the goal or the primary objective of your bot. Your customers' conversations with your bot should be natural and trustworthy. But how do we get there? And like I was just discussing with Stefan, there's a lot of different ways we can sort of conceive of what is natural and trustworthy. And what does natural really even mean in a conversation? Conversation is so variable and it happens differently with different groups. Well, luckily, we have a lot of data that help us sort of approach that problem. Linguists and conversation analysts have been studying conversation for decades. And when it comes to customer service in particular, we're in a stroke of luck because the whole field of conversation analysis began with analyzing the structure of customer service calls. This is an image or a diagram that I took from a paper written by Peggy Szymanski and Bob Moore in 2018 that outlines the canonical structure of a customer service conversation, where they found it doesn't really matter if you're talking about a cup of coffee or a t-shirt that you're trying to return. The overall structure of the service conversation tends to be the same, where you have the opening, where there's that greeting, the body of the conversation, where there's the customer request and agent response, and then the closing. I've learned through linguistics that this is essentially what we can leverage to make design recommendations for making a chatbot conversation come across as natural by adhering to this particular structure. So as a result, what I've done is I've condensed some of the most foundational linguistic research that I find helpful, that I think others would find helpful in making a bot conversation come across naturally, in 10 easy steps. And I'm going to show you how we do this using the Einstein Bot Builder to make it happen. So step number one, the bot introduces itself as a bot. So like we saw in Szymanski and Moore's diagram, the conversation has to start somehow, particularly when it comes to trying to build trust with a user, since that's what we're talking about. Having the bot introduce itself as a bot is extremely important. Trust begins with transparency. And this recommendation came from a story I heard from my dad, who was actually telling me about his own experience where he was chatting with a bot that didn't self-identify. He essentially, got through the chat and then asked it if it was human, and then eventually later it said no. It's hard to build back trust once you've lost it, rather than sort of setting that trust example from the get-go. So in the opening turn, have your bot identify itself as a machine. Make sure that your user knows that they're not talking to a human. Then the bot should state what it can do. So research has shown that customers feel a sense of anxiety when it comes to trying to find the right language or what to say and how to phrase what they want in conversation with a chatbot, such that it can trigger the chatbot to act in the way that they want it to. A way for you to kind of mitigate this anxiety is to provide some sense of guardrails. You don't have to tell the user everything that the bot can do, but giving some examples like, I can help you change your flight, or I can help you return an item. A really easy way to take care of this is by leveraging menus in a text-based chatbot to give examples of what the bot can do. All of these are ways that you can provide guardrails for the user and mitigate some of the anxiety they have out the gate. Some folks have also asked me, oh, is it overly limiting by only putting like 2 or 3 items in the menu? Why not put 7, or why not put everything the bot can do? And my response is, well, when you're talking to a human agent over the phone, do they rattle off absolutely everything that they can do for you in that opening turn of conversation? No. The implication is that they can do a lot of things for you, and ostensibly, when you give a couple of examples, these are just sort of a way to kind of give you some guidance. That's the same thing we want to do with our chatbots. The bot should understand various ways of phrasing things. Variation is an inherent and key quality of conversation. Anytime we have a conversation, we don't necessarily convey the same idea using the exact same words every single time we speak. So the example that we have here on the screen, hello, hi, heya, howdy, these are all different ways of communicating a greeting, different ways of phrasing a greeting or opening a conversation. It would not be great if your bot was able to understand hello and hi, but if the user said something like hey or heya, the bot said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. So how do we do this in the Einstein Bot Builder? Well, this is the Einstein Bot Builder. It's a declarative tool that allows you to teach your bot how to converse with your customers. Let me give you a quick tour. So up here on the left, we have the dialogue sort of drop down where it's essentially the menu where all your dialogues live. In the middle, you have your dialogue composer where you can actually write the messages that the bot will send. And then in the right-hand panel, we have the preview where you can actually see what the bot is going to do with your customer in the experience. Behind Dialog Intent, you'll see here, this is where you can put in customer inputs, where you can train the bot to understand different ways or different phrasings of a particular idea. The main menu is where you can give examples of what the bot can do and guide your user. All right, so the bot takes turns with the user, step 4. Turn taking is a fundamental aspect of conversation. If only one person is talking, that's not a conversation. It's kind of like a presentation or a monologue. Conversation is about leaving a pause. It's about giving the other person or the other participant in the conversation the opportunity to co-create and collaborate and build the conversation together. And that's essentially what turn taking does in a conversation. Bots do a pretty good job of this, but in order to really make it as natural as possible in the Chatbot Builder, you should leave time for the user to read what the bot is saying. So nothing comes across as more artificial than when the bot sends 5, 6, 7 messages all at once with no pause. If we look at the screenshot on the top where it says bad, and the user clicks on a menu item, here are all the responses that come in succession. And now I, the user, have to scroll up and read and catch up. That's not very natural. It doesn't give the user any time to read or comprehend what the bot is saying, nor does it give the user an opportunity to kind of interact at all with a bot. The good version of this, which is underneath, leverages a bot response delay where you see the little ellipses, and it essentially takes maybe a second or so to pause and then leave space for the user to read and catch up. You should leave at least a 1-second delay between the bot's messages so that way the user can read. I developed this recommendation by observing customer service agents over chat in Manila in the Philippines, in a major customer service hub. And what I saw was that the sort of shortest response time that a human agent would provide over chat was 4 seconds. If we think about it, 4 seconds is actually quite a long time in chat. So if we're kind of trying to adhere to the sort of natural nature of conversation, of turn taking and pausing, but we want to make it as efficient as possible, then we would ostensibly want to go for something that is greater than 0 seconds, certainly, but potentially less than 4 seconds if we know that that's what the fastest a human can produce in a customer agent setting. So the way that we sort of do this in the Einstein Bot Builder looks like this. Let's start with turn taking. Turn taking is actually quite easy. If within each dialogue you are producing multiple messages to the user, that's essentially going to help drive the turn taking structure. You can create a question and define the type of answers that you would like to receive. In this case, we're looking at a pizza bot where we're asking the user how many pizzas they would like to order. We put in the entity number, save it to the pizza's recurring variable, and then here we have the number of pizzas that you could potentially order as a user. And then we're going to ask another question. How often would you like to reorder pizza? So we're going to put in the entity for text. And then we're going to save that answer to a variable reorder cadence, where the user can put in however many, or the frequency at which they want to reorder the pizza. Once a week, twice a week, maybe they like a lot of pizza. All right, so once we have all that information, then we're going to send a message to the user, and then using merge syntax, we're going to confirm their order. I will reorder. Pizza's recurring. And I will do it this many times using the variable reorder cadence. Thanks for your order. All right. So we've updated the reorder, recurring order dialog. We activate the bot so that way we can preview it. The bot has been deployed to the chat channel, and it looks something like this. Hi, I'm Astro, your pizza ordering bot. How may I help you? Here's the menu of what we can do for you. I want to place a recurring order. Okay. How many pizzas would you like? 4. How often would you like to reorder? Twice a week. I like a lot of pizza. All right, I will order 4 pizzas twice a week. Thanks for your order. And there you have it. By asking questions, we can essentially create that turn-taking structure, and it's something that happens naturally with the bot. Now, to get to my favorite feature in the Einstein Bot Builder, the bot response delay. So again, by adding that slight delay, adding that pause, it helps leave the user time to read what has been said, but also create the natural flow and pace of the conversation. So in the Einstein Bot Builder overview page, we have the bot response delay setting that lives in the settings window. And here you can customize the time delay. So 0 to 3 seconds. Anything above 0 seconds is great. But we set the best response delay, the best delay time at 1.2 seconds based on the research that we did in Manila. All right, step number 6, the bot interprets multiple pieces of information at once. Humans speak in complex phrases, complex utterances. We don't always provide one idea per sentence or one idea per utterance. So we have an example here, Astro, one of Salesforce's mascots. I'm Astro, and I live in San Francisco. Notice that this example isn't I'm Astro, I live in San Francisco. It's a compound sentence. There's a lot of discourse that occurs between humans that is complex in this way. And so when we're trying to give essentially, an idea or an explanation to a bot in typed chat, ostensibly what we'll see is complex ideas that come together in a sentence like this. And so the bot needs to be able to understand and interpret multiple pieces of information within a single utterance. So this is what makes bots and conversation design so interesting. Your bot is going to be able to extract information within one message without having to ask a repetitive question. It can essentially parse those multiple entities to be able to understand two ideas within a single sentence. So, okay, you would like to place a recurring order. Same example that we had before. How many pizzas would you like? 1, 2, 3, 4. How often would you like to reorder? Twice a week. All right, so if we go to the example here, and this is something that just comes native to the Einstein Bot Builder, you don't have to do anything differently. If the user just types in, I want to set up a recurring order for 4 pizzas twice a week, okay, yes. Okay, and we skipped through all the questions, and now we've got the confirmation from the bot. I will reorder 4 pizzas twice a week. So notice that we have that complex sentence. I want to set up a recurring order for 4 pizzas twice a week. Those are 2 entities. Using named entity recognition, we were able to parse those 2 entities and then fill those slots. And now we don't have to ask those questions. Now we can just confirm to the user, and it essentially will skip the user to that part of the dialogue. Great, the confirmation, I will reorder 4 pizzas twice a week. Thanks for your order. All right, the bot apologizes when it can't do something. Apologies are extremely important in conversations that relate to customer service. If the customer asks for something that is outside of the scope of what your bot can do, it should be able to apologize, or at the very least acknowledge that the situation is less fortunate than you would like. There are some brands that maybe don't want to say I'm sorry too often. That's fine. There are other conversational design ways that you can do that. You can say unfortunately, or well, things that can sort of acknowledge that this outcome or whatever the state of a conversation isn't necessarily what the user preferred. Saying sorry or acknowledging that it's not so great for the customer is a fundamental behavior in support-related conversations. So to be helpful and natural, your bot should be able to say sorry. But it shouldn't just stop there. It should also create a path for follow-ups. So at Dreamforce, our annual conference at Salesforce that happens usually in person, not this year, we have a chatbot called the Dreamforce bot, where if there are no agents available to continue helping with a transfer, then the bot will provide some examples of how to continue the conversation forward. Send us an email, we'll get you back to you within a business day. Find one of our locations if you really want that Salesforce flag, or give us a call. Here's a different channel where you could potentially reach us. There should always be a way for the user to reach a human, to reach a representative of the institution. All right, how do we do this inside the Einstein Bot Builder? Well, something that comes native to the Einstein Bot Builder is called the confused dialog, which is what we're looking at now. If the bot says, sorry, I don't understand, because it doesn't understand what the user has said, we acknowledge that with an apology, and then give it the option to transfer to an agent. When we're talking about transferring to an agent, we have a specific dialog to do this, and this is essentially how it looks. But what if there's no agents available? There should be an option that goes to your users in case there's no agents available. Maybe you don't have agents on 24/7, and that totally makes sense. Okay, then what's the path forward? Send us an email, give us a call, here's a different channel. We're gonna get back to you as soon as possible. Step number 9, the bot gives and acknowledges gratitude. Thank you is a fundamental aspect of support chat. Think about the last time maybe you'll have to think back pretty far now, but the last time you went to get a coffee in person, perhaps. When you reached over to the bar and got that coffee, what did you say to the barista? Thank you. Nothing would be more unnatural if you said thank you to your bot and the bot said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. So the bot needs to be able to acknowledge gratitude as well as give gratitude to the customer. You want to thank your customer for their business. And then step number 10, the bot closes the conversation. So like we saw in Szymanski and Moore's diagram, every conversation has a closing of some kind. Astro is saying bye here. Goodbye is another way to end conversation. But keep in mind that thank you itself can also be the end of the conversation. There are a lot of times in customer service interactions where thank you is enough and it ends. But there has to be some way to convey to the user that the conversation is over if they have indicated that they are done. So the way that we do this in the Einstein Bot Builder is create a you're welcome dialog and train it on thank you. If the user says thank you, the bot should respond with you're welcome. Looks something like this in the dialog composer, and then when we click on dialog intent, here are all the different customer inputs that could trigger this dialog. All right, and so with that 10 steps, the goal is achieved. We have a natural, trustworthy bot chat that is driven on the principles of linguistics and conversation analysis. And it really sort of helps you to develop this flow for the conversation that comes across as natural. It helps you provide structure and adhere to user expectations for conversational flow. Thank you very much. These are the 10 steps. If you want, I can keep them up on the screen. If folks have any questions, feel free to fire away.
Awesome. Let's, Greg, thank you. That was a great talk. And I really like the demo. We have a couple of really good questions from our attendees. So one of them is how does Salesforce handle follow-up intents? Or Einstein?
How does Einstein handle follow-up intents?
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess I want to kind of pick that apart a little bit to
Sure.
make sure I'm understanding. Is it follow up like it's an intent that is predicated on the previous intent, or the intent of wanting to like follow up with the customer
So
or
an
follow up with
intent.
the company?
So I'll give an example. Let's say that you're
Mhm.
ordering coffee.
Mhm.
The coffee bot asks you, what kind of coffee do you want to order it? And then the follow-up intent would be the type of coffee. It might be like cappuccino,
Mhm.
or the follow-up might be that you want 2 shots of espresso instead of 1, and so
Mhm.
on.
Okay. Yeah. So the way that I've worked with that, and I'm talking from my experience working on a feature that we just put into beta called the Einstein Bot intro template. So up
Uh-huh.
until now, Einstein Bots has only just been a blank canvas, and you can create whatever you want there. But now we're offering an intro template whereby you can, do things like collect information for leads, create a case, check on your order status, or check on an existing order. And an example that you're referencing here is where, like, one sort of a larger goal or larger intent within the dialogue is predicated on the fulfillment of a smaller or embedded intent or embedded task. And one example that we essentially have in the Einstein Bot intro template of that is when you're trying to create a case. So the objective there, the intent there, is to report an issue. For the user, on the user side, the intent is seen as report an issue. On the platform side, we're seeing, okay, the user wants to create a case. But in order to create a case, we have to collect your information, not just the issue that you're having. So the way that we did this is we created a dialog called Get User Info. And the reason why we don't surface that in sort of the menu or as an exposed intent to the user is because that's not something that they're necessarily going to want. It's something that we need to collect, but the user is never going to really have this intent of, I want to give you my information for no other reason. There's always going to be some intent that it's tied to. But we also didn't want to write sort of that same dialogue twice, because you also need to collect their information if you were, if they want to learn more about sales or if we're creating a lead. And you also want to make sure that if they have given their information once in the chat, that you don't collect it again if they've already done so. So for example, if they previously, said that they want to connect with sales, in other words, we were going to create a lead for this person, and we collect their information then, we don't want to collect their information again when they want to report an issue. We just want to hear their issue. So all that to set the stage for, with create a case inside of that template, we have the create a case dialog where we reference or call the get user info dialog if we need to, if the user hasn't already provided it. We get the user's information, and then once that's done, then we ask them the specific case-related information. So and you can check this out. If you go to developer.salesforce.com, you can get a free 30-day trial of Salesforce and try out the intro template and see how it's configured there. I don't have screenshots here today, but essentially that's how we did it. Is we have this it's almost like a hidden dialogue where they're related, and you call it and then go back to where you were in the main intent.
I see. And you kind of answered one of the other questions here.
Okay.
Christian asked, if I understood you well, you're needing me to do blah, blah, blah after the intent's been recognized. And that's a good practice. And then just last question, how does Einstein handle corrective utterances or allow for confidence level adjustments? For example, if the confidence level is, let's say, 50%, is there like a specific threshold?
I think it depends. So I guess I'm trying to unpack a little bit of that question too. My first thought is, if we're thinking specifically about Einstein intents, that you'd go into the intent management dashboard, which I didn't show in the presentation today, but again, you can see if you use a developer instance of Salesforce, where you can see the balance of your intents and the extent to which they've been trained. So it's up to you as a user to enable your intents. but it will show you the percentage and the sort of confidence there.
Perfect, perfect. Awesome. Greg, there's a lot of really good questions here. And I'm really thankful that attendees are asking such amazing questions.
Awesome.
Guys, if you want to, you can either contact and connect with Greg after his talk and message him directly. You can find him on the People tab and send him a direct message, or Greg could provide his contact information in the chat.
Totally.
And Greg, I want to thank you for being a part of this, and we'll see you very soon in the happy hour.
Awesome.
And next up, we have Yi coming on stage.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Stefan. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
Bye.